Well, I recently pulled the two-wheel drive Pete off the wall. Haven't really been showing this guy much love lately, and to be honest, this is the truck that got me back into RCs. This is the truck that got me into electric RCs. Been a big fan of Nitro, had several of those. Still have one actually that I haven't got rid of yet. But purchased this for my son, actually, and turned out that I liked it so much. I got right back into it. You know, I got a swarm of them now, probably 4 or 5 different outfits. So this guy here has been sitting undriven for probably 4 or 5 months, and I said, you know what, it's time to pull this thing off the wall and get her back in service. So one of my biggest pet peeves with this truck, and even when I pull it off the wall, you know, there's oil all leaking all, like I cleaned a lot of it off, but it was all leaking all over the bottom here, and it was basically coming out of the differentials. Now, the one thing that really grinds my gears is the fact that they don't have any O-rings in these differentials for the two-wheel drives. Now, any other differential, you look at the Revo diffs for the Stampede four-wheel drive, they come with O-rings. Where's the kit? Right here. Those little blue O-rings come on the outdrives. Well, these are for the shocks, but you know what I mean. They look very similar to those, and they come on the outdrives of the bevel gears, right? I'll show you, like these guys. Where even my Offna diffs and my Hyper there, they have O-rings that slot into a pre-grooved channel, and then they use washers to squash them, and then they put a pin over or pin through the outdrive, and that's how it holds all that together, keeps the oil in. These have nothing. It's a bad design, in my opinion. So there's a bunch of different models out there that you can do, and I'm going to show you the easiest method I found. So what you need to do, essentially the top and bottom where the outdrives come out have a raised little nub. Basically it sticks up. You need to grind that off flat, essentially. So I used my Dremel for that. I just used regular coarser grit sandpaper. Love this Dremel too, by the way. I picked it up for I think 30-40 bucks. I think it was 30 bucks with a kit, my local hardware store, and it will rival any Dremel you can buy, guaranteed. I know it's corded, whatever. I don't like the cordless ones, but this thing just, it's so well balanced and driven. It's just, it goes good. Plus, you can replace all the brushes and stuff inside. You know, buy it once, you buy it for life. It comes with a good warranty. So you don't have to buy Dremel brand to get a good Dremel rotary tool. Essentially, is what they are, rotary tool. But enough about that. So what I'm going to do here, basically I've taken the Dremel, I ground it off flat, and then I drilled it. Basically I countersunk it. Now this part's kind of tricky, it's kind of scary, but what I did is I took a big drill bit like this. You could even maybe go a little bigger if you wanted. I might even still do that. But you go really slowly, and you got to take off, if you can see in there now, I got a lip of material that I've taken out, and the O-ring actually slots right into there. So I went and picked up some O-rings. Basically a 5mm O-ring is perfect, but a 3mm will also work. These are 3mm that's all I have, it's all I can get. My hardware store, I went down to pick them up, and they're out of the 5mm. Of course they have them all in standard sizes, not metric. And the one size I need is, of course, they're out of, right? So I picked up these ones anyway. These will work. You can stretch them over the outdrives. Perfectly fine. So what you need to do, you need 3mm or 5mm O-rings and Teflon washers. It's part number 1633. Traxxas part number, and they're basically these PTFE coated 5mm washers. They're flexible. I'm pretty sure they're plastic, but they work very well. So these are actually the same size as the O-ring. So they will actually, what the whole idea with an O-ring is, you need to actually squish it to get it to seal. So that's the whole idea. What you're going to do is you're going to inset the O-ring in like this. You have the outdrive that comes out now, and the O-ring sitting on the outside. Now I might drill this out a little bit more, but you want it just a little bit sticking out from flush, so that the O-ring actually, or the washer actually squishes it down. So now when you put the washer on, you can see it's the same size as the O-ring. It's going to squish it in there. So now when I put the two sides of the diff case together, it will actually squish these in there and stop that oil from leaking out. And that is one of the main spots that's leaking out there, as well as around the top ring. So the other method is guys will use like a rubber, it's called like a forma gasket or make a gasket. You can buy it for automotive stuff. And it's just like it comes out of a tube, you squeeze it around, it's like a glue kind of thing. Then you drop this in, and it's glued all the way around the outside edge. You let that harden up, it's like a rubber. Then you screw it down and let all the excess oil come out of it. But it will leak around the edges if you don't do this. I've also, you can use like a hot glue, probably would work fine, as that hardens up pretty quickly. I got this Bondo stuff here. This is actually a flexible bumper repair stuff I found at my local hardware store. It works great. It's flexible like a harder plastic. So I'm going to mix this up. It's a two-part. It hardens really fast. So I'm going to use this. So I'm going to coat it around the outside edge and drop it in to place after I have all the gears in this filled up with diff fluid. So that's what the issue is. The diff fluid, like when you want to run a runnier or a lower weight diff fluid, it tends to just want to run out of there. I like to run that lower weight diff fluid, especially if you're on a track or anywhere where you really want that limited slip, because it does help. Like you can lock the diffs in these things and wheelie all day, but it really does impact the handling on dirt. That's the whole deal with this, with the planetary gear differential here, is to regulate that power to the tires. You don't want them locked. If they want them locked, they would have just put a locker in there, right? So I really do think they should have came up with a better design for the O-rings, but this is the best method I have found to seal it. So I hope that kind of helps you out. I'm going to go ahead now, put it all back together, fill it up with oil, and I'll show you how I seal it all up with the two-part epoxy here. I'm just getting it ready to go, and I just wanted to mention the size of the drill bit I used here is a 5/16 bit. You could also go one step up from that if you wanted. And when you drill, like, don't even use a drill. I just use my hand and just spin the bit in there, because it's very easy to take off too much, and it's very easy to take out the plastic with a sharp bit just by hand. You don't even need the drill. So it's very important you go slow, because it's very easy to just drill right through it, especially with a drill. So I wouldn't even use the drill, to be honest. I did it by hand and it worked perfectly for me. So essentially I did it a little bit more, and it sits just above the surface. So when it's all squashed down the way I want it, like, it's kind of hard to get a shot of this, but it's just barely above, so that the washer will squish it down. Okay, so now if you need a reference of the gears, here they are. The two go to the bottom, and then these two here sit up above these two gears to contact the next gear that drop in, this top gear. So that now got the pin in it, that drops into here, and then you put the cap and everything over it. So I'm going to actually fill it with oil before I pop that in there, but I just thought I would show the gear orientation for anyone who might be confused or whatnot. Okay, so I've got it filled up with diff fluid now. Should have waited a little bit longer to mix this up, but whatever. This is the epoxy. Basically, I've spread it all around the outside edge now, and I'm going to drop it in there, and then I'm going to make sure that I spread a little bit more around the outside edge. Just a thin little layer. I don't want it to interfere with anything when it's spinning around, but I want it to seal the diff fluid in. So I just wanted to show you that I went around the whole outside edge so that when it drops in, it gets some down in that trench there, that channel. So as you can see now, I've got a little layer of it all the way around the outside edge. Some of the oil is going to come up. I used the Q-tips to kind of get it out of there before I spread this around. Now I'm going to dip the screws in here slowly, put the 3 of them in, and then try to contain that little bit of oil that comes out of there so I don't get it all in the epoxy. So after I did it all, I decided, you know, I didn't like that. I put all the screws in before using the diff. I cleaned it all. I scraped all the glue that I had originally put on there, sealed it all, put all 4 screws in it, cleaned all the silicone off it, sprayed it with alcohol, wiped it all off so it was bone dry. Now originally when I put it on, I showed you I put the glue all around the outside edge of this top ring. So when I dropped it in there, the glue actually got down the sides quite a bit. So when I took a razor blade, straight blade like that, and I scraped all the glue off, And the black glue, or the Bondo fiberglass stuff that I'd use here, this resin bumper repair stuff, actually had gotten down in that crevice, which is good, but it wasn't a perfect bond. So I went around and I tried to basically just put the thinnest layer possible that I could get on here. This stuff hardens up really good. It's the silicone diff fluid that causes the problem. If you have the fluid present when you're trying to set up glue, it's a problem because the glue sets up around all the oil, and then the oil has pathways to follow to get out once it hardens. So you kind of need to do it this way. So I'm going to let this set up. Once this stuff's rock hard again, you just want to have a thin layer, because once you sandwich in the diff, if there's too much on there, it's going to rub off anyway when it's spinning around the inside. So that's basically it. I'm going to go ahead and put the washers on both sides, sandwich it in there once it's dry, and that's it. That is a sealed diff for a Stampede or / two-wheel drive truck. So I hope you enjoy the video. See, this is the piece that I cut off the top there. It all came off in one kind of unit, but much better, cleaner job now once you screw all the screws in and then clean it all off with a good proper degreaser or an alcohol. You should be able to feel it. It'll be nice and smooth and clean, no greasy residue. Then apply a good glue or a rubber gasket material or something like this, fiberglass bumper repair kit. It's a 2-part epoxy, but it works great except for the leaky thing here. But I thank you for watching, and I hope to see you again.